Welcome back, everybody. Play on Canada podcast. We are empowering Canadians with resilience through sport. We have another fantastic guest for you today. Kaleb Dahlgren is a former assistant captain of the Humboldt Broncos hockey team and a York University alumni. What an honor, Kaleb. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me on here. Looking forward to talking to you guys.
Now, Kaleb, I know you're a huge sports guy, and there seems to be every night there's something new on the TV screen every night. And also, you graduated York University. How awesome has these past couple days have been for you?
Oh, it's been pretty cool, honestly. Just even looking back and reflecting on my last 3 years as a Lion has been incredible. And the amount of people I met and the time that I had at York was truly life-changing. So I couldn't be happier for my choice to attend there and be a part of the men's program, even a part of varsity athletics and the university as a whole. So I had a great time.
Kaleb, we were talking before the interview, and we were mentioning I went to Brock, and you recently graduated York. So, how was the experience overall with getting involved in so many different things?
Yeah, for me, I really wanted to get invested into the community and onto campus, and I want to get involved. And in my first year, it was kind of like just a feeling out process, seeing what it was like. I was still recovering from lots of injuries my first year. And even like trying to figure out what was my status with the hockey situation. My brain was going to be able to heal enough to play hockey, just all those different situations. And so I really wasn't fully involved. I didn't like get involved in any student councils or anything like that. But my second year, I dove headfirst into it and went and like ended up helping out with the recruiting, helping out with strength and conditioning on our team, doing the goalie drills and like shooting pucks on the goalies at practices. Also practice with the team as well. And then I would do our student varsity athletic council. So I was our student representative for men's hockey. I was on the leadership committee. There's just so many different things that I did after that, and continued Dahlgrens Diabetes my first year, and then had it my second year, a little bit bigger of an event. And so I really wanted to like be heavily involved in that community at York, and just to be able to give back and help others throughout their tough times, or even inspire other people to create their own initiatives is something that I really enjoyed. And the thing for me is the connections that I get. I think out of it all, when you look back on it, it's the connections that you have that you remember the most. And some of the best stories are the ones where I wasn't even doing anything. They were helping me, and I just met them, and it's just a good time. So I look back on it, and it's such a great time. And I think that if you're going to university, you got to take it all in, because it is only a short amount of time. And for people who are entering their university years, it is the best time of your life, and you want to make it the best time of your life.
Kaleb, my professor in first year she always said this every class. She said, networking. That was the phrase that she said for university.
That's so true. It's such a business term as well.
Now, Kaleb, leadership within your hockey team and community has always been very important to you by the sounds of it. Now that your career goals have shifted and evolved, how do you plan to continue implementing a leadership role within the rest of your life?
Well, for me, I'm going to attend Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College here in Toronto coming up this fall. And so I get another opportunity to build like a team, a family there. And it's with our incoming class of like 200 students. And it's going to be fun. And we're all going through the same kind of grind. And I think that we'll be able to bond together and have that kind of leadership, that team, like team atmosphere. And there's lots of people with sport backgrounds. So they've all been a part of teams at some point in their life. And so I think for me, it'll be something I'm really looking forward to, is like getting to meet new people again and just having an experience all go together. But throughout life, I want to be a coach one day. I want to continue doing speaking engagements and inspiring the next generation. I think for me, it's just being involved in something bigger than myself. I've found that that's my why, and why I want to be here on this earth is to help others and be involved in something bigger myself. And so as a chiropractor and in that profession, I get to help others every single day. And for me, there's nothing more valuable than helping others and having that second chance to give back and be a support for them. So I think I'll always be able to be a leader, and it'll be in the health profession now. And I'm looking forward to that as well. I had health and fitness my entire life, and the fact that I get to promote that and continue making people feel healthier and stronger is right up my alley.
I was reading about you today, Kaleb, and one of the things that really stuck out to me is that your leadership and how you conduct yourself on and off the ice. I wanted to ask you about youth hockey in Saskatchewan. What was that process like leading in youth hockey?
Yeah, so growing up, I absolutely loved hockey. I still do today, but I was like an absolute fanatic. I would live, eat, sleep, breathe hockey. And honestly, it hasn't really changed too much. But anyways, I grew up in Saskatchewan, and for me, it was like I was born in Moose Jaw and I was raised in Moose Jaw until I was 6. And so we had like our Burt Hunt skates, they were called. And we just go on the ice and learn to love the game and play some games, and it'd be like learn to skate type of thing. And then came to Saskatoon and ended up playing hockey at the highest level throughout my years. I was fortunate to play with lots of great players who are in the NHL today, AHL, and some of them are my best friends still. And I think the bonds, like I said, kind of going back to that, is just so special because you look back on it and you see where everybody is today, and there's so many people that are all different places, but you had one thing in common, is that you shared that team atmosphere and you're on the same team at one point in your career. And so I think that's so cool. And you go back and you run into like old teammates from novice, or I guess it's like now I think called U7 or U8, I think it's called now. But like you go back to that, and I still hang with lots of my friends from that team. So I think it's super cool just to have that kind of connection with people and to look back at it and be like, oh, this is a great time. And so yeah, I ended up playing hockey at the highest level and I loved it. I played spring hockey as well. And being a type 1 diabetic, playing hockey definitely had a little bit of a difference compared to other people. But I still made the most of the situation I was given and embraced it for what it was, and really enjoyed the game and loved it. And so it took me all over Canada, North America, and I can be more grateful for that.
One of my favorite things I love hearing on this podcast, talking to guests, is just hearing those strong memories of playing like just street hockey, ice hockey as a child, playing with your friends and whatnot. So I just want to ask you about just hanging out with your friends, picking up some sticks, some orange balls, and just ripping shots. Do you have any fond memories like that, or how big was that?
I got a couple of good stories for you. I'll bring out my rollerblading story with playing road hockey. So I used to play road hockey with my friends all the time growing up, and I was like, we'd go either into my basement, or if we wanted more people, we'd go outside and play it outside. And so I'd always have rollerblades on, and that was like the thing for me. Is if I wasn't at the rink, I was rollerblading. And one day I went over to my friend's house, and he has like a huge lives in a cul-de-sac, and so we like blocked off the cul-de-sac, put like little things in, I guess like little caution signs for people to enter in, that they knew they were coming into like a hockey zone area. And so we had it down one side, down the other side, and we get going, and games getting heated, and it's getting fun. And of course, none of us are wearing helmets or face masks or anything like that. And we're all like 9, 10, 11, probably should have been wearing face masks and helmet, but we weren't. And I ended up getting a rock cut in my rollerblade. And so I'm going like hard.
Oh, no.
I cut the corner, I get this rock, and I absolute face plant it. Hit my face right on the ground, chipped my front tooth. And so I get up, and I was like, uh-oh. Feel my front tooth gone. Put my tongue there, and I was like, yep, this isn't good. So there goes the front tooth. And so that was like one of the instances of playing road hockey and roller hockey outside. But then even like going back to tournaments, we were in Winnipeg for a Subway Classic, I think it was called. And at those tournaments, it's like the top of the best. It was AAA summer hockey. And at that time, there was like only one AAA league. There wasn't like 5 different tiers. Now that there is, or like 3, I think, different tiers. Before, it was just like the one and one only. And if you're the best of the best, you're going and playing AAA. And if not, then that's all right. So anyways, we were playing against like this other team, and I think it was the Vancouver Vipers. And they had like Matt Barzell on their team, like lots of other like really elite players. I think Jansen Harkins might have been on that team too. And so I remember in the dressing room, we were all sitting in there, and we ended up turning on a smoke machine and like getting us amped up with the music and going on. And then we had a disco ball in the dressing room and a strobe light. So
what's going on here? Is this a hockey game? Or
yeah, we were like getting ready for a little pregame, and we're like getting pumped up in the dressing room. And there's all this smoke, and we ended up coming out there and like playing a great game. But I think it was absolutely hilarious, just like those memories that you have of like even in the hotel and playing mini sticks in the hallway. Like those are the memories that I have today. It's not really like the wins or losses. It's more about what we did. And even like playing in the brick tournament too. I thought that was one of the coolest experiences I've had in my hockey career, was like playing in the West Edmonton Mall and like wearing that eye paint underneath your eyes and having those people and fans like cheering down on you. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think there's tons of great experiences in minor hockey for me, and I'm grateful for the path that I took.
At least it wasn't picture day after you chipped your tooth, though, right?
No, it wasn't, but I have a picture actually. I think it's in my book too, and I like this, and I have my tongue out. and he just, the tooth is gone. It's pretty funny.
Caleb, did you take anything from playing street hockey into your game in ice hockey at all?
I did. I think one of the big things for me that I took away was just actually having fun. I think a lot of times in the sport, people get so involved in just like everyday grind and like trying to get at it, but like take a step back and actually appreciate the little things and how fun of the sport it really is. And for me, that was one of the big things I could take away was just having fun and like embracing the moment and being with friends and having that friendship, but also like just making the game fun, trying new things, being creative, and just I say having fun is one of the big things I took away.
I agree.
Yeah, exactly. The next thing I want to ask you, Caleb, is about the Dahlgrens Diabeauties. How exactly did that get started, or what was like the process before just coming up with this idea and then actually rolling with it?
So, and when I was, I guess I'll go with a little throwback here. So when I was 12, I really wanted to give back to the type 1 diabetic community, but I really didn't know how. And so I grew up and I just told my parents, I want to give back. So wait until you're done high school kind of thing. Like, you need to keep your marks up and we don't want you to have any distractions. You're got enough on the go kind of thing. So, okay, whatever. 12 years old, it doesn't really matter. And then when I was 16, actually, I ended up helping one of my friends who was a newly type 1 diagnosed. And he was in North Battleford, and I was in North Battleford too. And so that like kind of hit me. He was like, "Oh, you really helped me. Like, thank you. It really made an impact on my life." And I just all I did was like kind of tell him the tips and tricks of diabetes and like things that worked for me and things that didn't work for me, and give him some suggestions like putting a snacks beside his bedside or like carrying 2 snacks on him at all times. Like just little things like that that you really don't think of. And he had said it was huge. And so I kind of thought about that. I was like, yeah, like I could help a lot more people like this. I want to help children like this because I wish I had this as a child. And I talked to my parents about it again. They're like, no, just wait. Like you have 2 more years left of high school. Like just wait until you're done high school. So I said, okay, whatever. So I finished up high school and I was playing AAA hockey in North Battleford. And then I went and played, I guess, junior A hockey with the Notre Dame Hounds. So I was in a town of Wilcox, which has like 400 people and huge hockey town. That's all you do is eat, sleep, breathe hockey, which I loved. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And so I was there for 2 years and I joined on to Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, which is a program that creates awareness and funds for cure and for type 1 diabetes cure. And the whole idea there was just to get involved in the diabetic community. But I still didn't really feel like fulfilled on the inside. I had like this burning desire to still help. And I had this dream plan I thought when I was 16, but like I really didn't do it when I was 16. And now was like my opportunity to do it was in junior. And I wanted to use hockey as a platform. So I ended up asking for a trade going into my 20-year-old season. And I got traded to Humboldt, Saskatchewan, and was able to launch Dahlgrens Diabeauties. And so the whole idea of the program is to have a mentorship program and to let type 1 diabetic children know they can pursue their dreams and passions if they wish, and that diabetes doesn't have to stop them. And so growing up, I really didn't have that support or that influence in my life to look up to or even ask questions. Like, for example, if I go on a date, how do I tell the lady that I'm with or the person that I'm with that I'm a type 1 diabetic when I check my blood sugar? Like, how do you bring that up? Like, it's obviously an awkward situation. Or even when I go camping, like if I go camping and I'm with friends and then I kind of pull away and don't have any marshmallows, like, why are you not having marshmallows? And it's like, well, I'm diabetic. I really shouldn't be having the carbs right now. So it's like those type of situations where I had questions, or even like, how do I handle sports? Like, how does an elite athlete handle diabetes in sport? Those are the questions I had that I didn't have answers for. So anyways, I thought of this program, and the idea was to bring diabetic children and their families out to a Bronco game. First, they get a pregame meal at Johnny's Bistro, which is like a local restaurant in Humboldt, my favorite. Shout out to Johnny's. And then after that, I would have them come to the game. Diabetes would get complimentary tickets for them and their family. Then they'd go and Diabetes get to wear the Dahlgrens Diabetes jersey and participate in a ceremonial face-off with me and the captain of the other team. I was fortunate enough to let our captain Shots give me the reins for the opening draws on those nights, so that was nice. And then after that, they'd watch the game, and once the game was over, I'd meet them upstairs, and we'd talk about diabetes. I give them some diabetes gear and some Broncos gear as well, and make them feel a little bit special, and really just talk about some things I've gone through and answer some of their questions that they have too. And afterwards, I'd go to their school or hockey team or wherever and do a presentation to make them feel like they were still special and create more awareness around the disease too. Then lastly, they'd be in the Facebook group chat, so I can create a family of diabetes, and other families can talk to other families that have questions, or if someone has a question, they post in the chat, and everybody can chime in on what works for them. So I think that was like super, super beneficial. And right now, I was able to continue that to York University, and now I have 16 diabetes today, and still going strong with it. I've been posting more on my social media, on my diabetes page about it now. So it's been absolutely life changing, but it's been life changing for me. I think for me, it's like really made me realize just how strong and they are, and they inspire me daily. So I couldn't be more grateful for it.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I am still wowed that you were 12 years old and that's when you kind of got the ball rolling on this. My biggest concern was what's for dinner when I was 12, so I'm honestly blown away by you right now, Kaleb. And my next question for you is just dive in a little bit about playing hockey with diabetes and how different that would be for you, or what were some of the hurdles that you had to jump?
When I was 4 and I got diagnosed, the doctor told my parents I'll be insulin dependent for the rest of my life, and that my life would look a lot different. And we didn't really know what a lot different meant. And like, you heard of Bobby Clark, who was an NHL star with type 1 diabetes, but I really didn't know of him. It was kind of like past my era, and there was no YouTube at that time either. So like, I couldn't just like look up Bobby Clark highlights or something like that to get inspiration, because there was no YouTube. So it was kind of like he was like a foreign figure, like kind of like a god in a sense, where like you hear of him, but it's like you don't really know of him or anything like that. And there really wasn't much awareness around it at all. So like you'd go, I'm one of the big stories, but it was later on. But like you'd go to camps and stuff, and you'd like poke your finger, and people would look at you really weird because there was no technology now where it just goes to your phone. You just have something in you, and it goes to your phone. Before, it was like you'd have to poke your finger, you have to draw blood, and you have to put it on a test strip in front of everybody, or you try to like hide it or like be secretive about it, which you get good at. But it's like it's something that you kind of have to put on the side, because if you put it in the forefront, other people are look at you differently. And so one time, like I would have coaches like question me about my diabetes and if it was going to impact the team or if it was going to impact my play. I even had like a coach say that I should probably not play hockey because it's a performance-driven sport. I should choose something a little bit less strenuous. So I think growing up with that, it was provided me, either I could have like took it as something that was negative, and I could have said like, okay, yeah, like I should listen to these people. I should be like, no, you know what? I'm going to create my own path. And like, there's other people who have done this, and I want to be another inspiration story. And so as I grew up, one of the stories was I was at AAA summer camp, or it would have been fall camp, and I was having a really good camp, doing really well at it. I was like on one of the bubble spots for it, and I was 15 years old, and so it was really good because it's 15 to 17. So the fact that I was there was on a bubble spot was really good. And so I ended up missing like the last 5 minutes of the game because I had low blood sugar. And I went to my exit meetings, and the next thing after that is like you do a exhibition kind of games, and then they cut the I guess big bulk of it, and they only take like a couple extras for the exhibition games, and that's where you like earn your spot on the team. And so I was told before camp I expected to be in the exhibition roster and all that. So I was looking forward to it, and anyways, I missed the last 5 minutes because I had low blood sugar on the bench. And I couldn't play because I had like shaky legs. I was weak. I was tired. And so they watched it, and they saw like players go by me on the bench and me sitting on the bench. So my exit meeting after, they're like, we saw you sitting on the bench in the last 5 minutes, and we didn't like that. Why are you sitting on the bench? And that was like when I had disclosed I was a type 1 diabetic, and that it actually wasn't because I was out of shape. Like, those are the kind of circumstances that you are in, per se, that would be different than other people. And I think making the most of the situation, and even like I wrote in the book about me almost passing out at our team bag skate. I was a leader on the team. I wanted to prove myself, and I almost ended up having a seizure on the ice from like trying to go too hard. So I think it's different as a hockey player with type 1 diabetes, or even any disease in general. But you got to make the most of the situation and own it, and not use it as a crutch.
Wow.
Well said.
Yeah, absolutely. Kaleb, this interview is about you, but I can relate to someone telling you no, because we're talking about university at the top, and people that know me, I've talked about this before, but I have a learning disability in school. And so when I was going into university, I had to take a test to upgrade my where I was and my learning processes, the whole thing. Anyway, lots of people told me I could never go through university and pass. And I was stubborn, and I said, "No, I can do it." And in your story, when you were talking about it, I can tell that you said the same thing. You
Exactly.
said, "No, I'm going to do this."
That's exactly it. And even same thing after the crash too. When I have my severe traumatic brain injury, the doctors were advising me not even go to school. Like they said, like stay home, do nothing, like don't go. If you go, you're gonna fail. That was really what they told me. They said if you go to school, you're gonna fail out. You're gonna live like a rough lifestyle. You're gonna go into you're gonna fall into a trap and you're gonna go down a dark spiral. And I was like, no, it's not gonna happen. They're like, no, like we really would recommend you not going to school. Like take one class, maybe one class in your second semester and stay home. So I can definitely relate to learning disability as well. With me, I have a slow ability of reading in school, so I completely can relate to that and understand when people do say no. And sometimes it's different because they're not in your shoes, and I take everything with a grain of salt. And like, should I not play hockey because of my brain injury? Yes. And like that's a serious no. But if it's like them telling me something about myself that I haven't even tried or haven't even known or it's not like scientifically proven, then why should I believe it? So
Is that almost kind of like extra motivation for you to kind of soar past the expectation bar? Caleb was just having people saying, "Whoa, slow down," and that kind of almost builds a fire inside you.
it does a bit because even growing up, like being a diabetic and having that kind of first notch on you and having people look at you differently was another one. But then this as well was just like I wouldn't say it added more fuel to the fire, but also like I wanted to prove them wrong, but I wanted to prove people that believe in me right. And so for me, I wanted to have both. I wanted to have people that were supporting me, saying like, "Yeah, do it, try it. Whatever happens, happens. Like, do your best." I wanted to prove them that right, like, yeah, you are right. I will give my best, but I also want to prove people are like, no, like, stay home, don't do it. I wanted to prove them wrong too. So it's having that both kind of perception. And I thought like, what's the worst of it? Like, yeah, you're right. If I go to school and I fail, then the doctors are right. Congratulations. But like, if I go to school and I don't fail, then like that's a little bit more of motivation to keep going, to keep pushing, and to keep writing my own story.
Yeah, I was the same way, Caleb. Just before we move on, Caleb, what has been the reaction internally and externally with your nonprofit organization?
I think internally, for me, one of the big things was how helping others helps me too. And I've always knew that, but really got into it in 2017 when I was in my 20-year-old hockey season, even 19, like even earlier. But I knew like for sure in my 20-year-old season I want to be involved in the Humboldt community, and I really want to get invested. And so I did. I did tons of different things. I put in like over 500 hours of volunteering within the season, and it was something that I did that helped me. And so like putting a smile on someone's face made me feel better. And then I think looking back on it and just seeing how inspiring these diabetes are, like one of them, for example, was very, very shy about his diabetes and wouldn't let anybody see him do needle. Wouldn't let him, like he'd have to leave the classroom or like go in a corner and poke his finger. He was like very self conscious about it. And then after I went to the school and presented, and after I talked to him a bit, he ended up doing the next year a school presentation on type 1 diabetes. Stood in front of his whole school and talked about diabetes. And so I think like for that and me seeing that is just it's absolutely phenomenal. And that's what I would have wanted as a kid. And that's the whole idea behind this is to do what I would have wanted, to be that support that I would have wanted. And even like another one's writing a children's book right now. Like like that's crazy. And like what 11-year-old writes a children's book? But like it's those kind of things that you see and they are way, way, way more advanced than I was as a kid, and they're way more involved, and they want to give back earlier than I did. And so, like to see how much of, like to see how much they're given to the world and how strong they are, it truly makes me like feel so proud and happy. So, I think internally it's unbelievable, and externally, like just seeing the awareness that it creates and generates, and how it has a ripple effect. So I infect one of them, or let's say 16 of them, then they go and infect all of them, infect another 16 more people. So then it just keeps on rippling, and that's the whole idea of this is to have that ripple effect for generations, not just. And the idea is to have that personal connection too, where they can come talk to me about relationships, or they can come talk to me when they are having a tough day. I want to be there for them for all the ups and downs of being diabetic.
It sounds like you're having like amazing success already with the Dahlgren Diabetes. What's kind of like the next step for you to help grow? And I know you mentioned a ripple effect, keep going and splashing on, but what's the next big step for you?
Honestly, I think just keeping it right now at 16. I'm not too sure where I want to go in the future. I'm planning on doing maybe one big summer camp a year and having the Diabeauties do their own little things within the camp, or like run their own activity. But I'm not too sure. Right now, it's more just being that support for them, because I know if I expand it too far, I lose that personal connection. And for me, I really value that personal connection, and I wish I could have like an army of like 1,000 or whatever Diabeauties, but it'd be like, for me, I'd lose that personal aspect, and that's something that I really value, is like being there and that support for them, so that maybe when they create their own initiative or they have their own camp, that they can have their own like 20 and have that personal connection with those 20 as well. So I think it's not, I don't want to extend myself too far where I lose that personal aspect, but I also feel like I have the ability to impact more people. And so I'm thinking of doing a yearly camp, but still in the works right now. Not 100% sure how to do it. And COVID also put a little bit dent on it. So I think maybe next year we'll see what happens, but right now it should keep it 16.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just great what you're doing, Caleb. It really is. And forgive me for this next question because there's no great segue to go into this. April 6, 2018, one of the worst days in hockey. 16 people of the Broncos passed away from a horrific bus crash. I really wanted to ask you about your recovery process to that tragic event and horrific event.
So I'll go kind of with my injuries. So from that, I had a fractured skull, puncture into my skull, a scalp decalving, so the side of my head was shaved off, like road rash, and then I also had a severe traumatic brain injury, broken vertebrae in my neck, broken vertebrae in my back, muscle and ligament nerve damage in my neck and my back. I had 2 large blood clots, one on my left arm, one behind my right eardrum, and also, I guess, the emotional pain of losing the 16 people I consider family and absolutely loved and adored and still do today. So I think for me, those were all the injuries I had. And then also, then on recovery prospect, that side, I think after would have been, I don't remember 4.5 days of it. So I remember everything being right up to the crash, and then there's like a complete blackout for 4.5 days, and then I'm waking up in a hospital bed, finding the reality of this. However, in those 4.5 days, I was talking to people. I was like having conversations. I was standing, walking. I was doing everything. I just don't remember it. So it's kind of like the phase of being in a blackout. I've never been blacked out either, but that's kind of what people would recommend it to be as. And it's called post-traumatic amnesia. So from my brain injury, that was all from my brain injury. That part took a little bit to heal, and it's still healing today, my brain injury. However, I was a different personality in that time frame. My personality really changed. I was like sarcastic. I was rude. I was really to the point. I swear like a sailor, and I never swear. So like in that time frame is really different. And then even after that, I still was like had to kind of taper it down after, and it started to get better probably once I left the hospital. I'd say it started to die down a bit, and it was due to the brain injury for sure. But the injuries all healed within 2 months, except my brain injury. Everything else was healed. I still have a little bit of loss of nerve pain on the back of my neck, but everything else is in good spot. And I also was able to skate on, I want to say June 1st, 2018. So the crash happened April 6th, and then June 1st, I was back on ice skating for the first time. And it's been pretty amazing, the recovery. And even like in the hospital, just going through all the different tests and like doing extremely well in the tests and getting better, a little bit better every single day, for me was huge. I think in that time, you have to focus on the positives and control the things that you can control. And I couldn't control a crash. I couldn't control who was here, who wasn't. I couldn't control my injuries. I couldn't control anything really, except how I wanted to respond to the situation, my actions. I could control how I wanted to battle back and how I wanted to honor those who weren't here. And so for me, it was getting 1% better every day and finding the positives in life and trying to enjoy the grind while at it.
Tell me about that first lap on June 1st, that first lap around the rink when you finally got on the skates.
Yeah.
What was running through your mind? Did you have goosebumps? What was it like?
It literally felt like home. When I stepped on the ice, and some of the doctors were a little bit scared about me skating, but my one physio was like, "It's literally like you're walking. It's no different. You literally have done that before." And I wasn't cleared to run at all at that time. But I was cleared to skate because it was really smooth. And so for me, it felt like home. It really felt like there's other people out there as well, though. I wouldn't say it was just me on that ice. It definitely felt like there was the 16 who weren't there watching over me, or felt like their presence was definitely there. And when I go back and think about it, it was just so emotional in a sense, whereas it felt like home. It felt overpowering. There's so many different emotions that came from it. And yeah, I'll never forget that time and never forget that arena. I'll never forget it. So it's one of those things that'll stick in your mind forever. And for me, it was a really great moment. And even when I went onto the ice, there's a huge mural that said Humboldt Strong on like where you step out and you look to the right, and that's where you see the huge Humboldt Strong thing. And so it was really cool to have that support to even the support throughout everything, but the support to get back on ice and follow my dreams and follow my passions and to be safe and smart about it. But yeah, anyways, the support was truly incredible from the whole crash. So I just want to say, while I'm on here, thank you to everybody for all your support. The messages, the sticks out, the stickers, the tributes, the donations, it was honestly, it still leaves me speechless today, just how much the support was. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the support that I've received and the Broncos have received since April 6th, but even before April 6th and even after April 6th. So just thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well said. Our condolences to you, Kaleb, and the families that were affected in this. Quickly, Kaleb, because we're running out of time here, you are wearing an incredible shirt. This is our shot. Tell us about it. Are you ambassador for the program?
Yes, yeah, I am. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the This Is Our Shot, and the whole idea is to create a safer place for Canadians and to get a vaccine. And obviously right now with COVID, it's been pretty crazy, just the lifestyle that we had to adapt to and change within the last year and a half. And I think now we're kind of coming out of it and starting to look a little bit better, a little bit brighter, and that's awesome to see for us. And I met Haley Wickenheiser actually while I was in the hospital, and she ended up sending me an email asking if I wanted to be a part of this, and I was honored she even thought of me to be a part of this organization and part of this movement. And so the fact that this is our shot really to make a difference and to make Canada safer and healthier. So yeah, it means a lot to me, and I'm double vaccinated now, so I'm super pumped about that. Kind of can live a little bit more of a normal life, especially with restrictions in Saskatchewan lessening here on the 11th. Life is starting to become a little bit more normal. And it's really nice to actually enjoy that. So definitely would recommend getting a vaccine. And I understand everybody has their own beliefs and values, and I'm okay with that too. But for me, this is what I want to do to protect my family and myself.
Awesome. Thank you again, Kaleb. This has been unbelievable. Thank you for everything you do. I feel like my life's changed almost talking to you. I feel motivated to do something.
Thank you so much. No, I appreciate it. And it's honestly just for me trying to help others and try to make a positive impact on this world as much as I can. Even if it's just one good deed today, it does make a big difference.
Kaleb, it's people like you that are making the world a better place. So our thanks here from us for being on the podcast, and Play On for coming on here as well. Your book, where can people find it?
You can find Crossroads, I guess, on Amazon, online, at my website, even just www.kalebdahlgren.com with a K. And you also go on HarperCollins, they'll have it on their website too. If you just type in Crossroads, Kaleb Dahlgren, it'll come up and you can find lots of places. But you can go to bookstores, anywhere that books are sold, you can find it pretty much. So it's pretty cool to have that. And yeah, hopefully they enjoy the read.
They will, for sure. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Click that subscribe button on YouTube and follow us on all the podcast platforms. And follow us on social media at Play On Canada. That's a wrap.